All right, let's dive into something that, honestly, affects every single one of us, but we almost never treat it with the seriousness it deserves. We're talking about loneliness. And as we're about to see, it is so much more than just a feeling. It can be a genuine physical danger.
Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't some crazy exaggeration for effect. That's a direct quote from a general practitioner, someone on the front lines seeing this every single day. It's a shocking thing to hear, and it really sets the stage for how high the stakes are here.
And here's the hard number that backs it up. Being chronically lonely can increase your risk of dying prematurely by up to 30%. I mean, think about that. That's a bigger risk factor than obesity or not getting enough exercise. We worry so much about diet and the gym, but this silent condition could actually be way more dangerous.
So we really have to reframe how we think about this. This isn't about feeling a little sad sometimes or just being an introvert. No, this is a massive public health issue. And when you start comparing it to other major diseases, the true scale of the problem, well, it becomes impossible to ignore. The data here is just staggering. In the UK, you've got 3.8 million people living with chronic loneliness. Compare that to the 3 million people living with cancer. And here's the real kicker. Cancer survival rates are getting better and better because we have screening and treatments. We don't have that kind of system for loneliness. It's this huge, widespread condition that's basically hiding in plain sight.
And if you're thinking, oh, this must be an issue for the elderly, you're going to want to think again. The single loneliest group in our society right now, it's 16 to 24-year-olds. Young people, who we assume are in the prime of their social lives, are feeling more isolated than any other generation. That just flips everything we thought we knew completely on its head.
So how in the world did we get here, right? We live in an age where we're more digitally connected than at any point in human history. So why are so many of us feeling so deeply alone? Well, it turns out there are kind of two stories happening at the same time. One that's going on inside our own heads, and one that's playing out in the world all around us.
Let's break that down. The internal story, that often starts way back when we're kids. If we learn early on that depending on other people can lead to being let down, we basically train ourselves to be super independent. We start telling ourselves, you know what, it's just safer if I do it myself. Then there's the external story. That's just modern life. Our whole convenience culture, everything from Uber to food delivery, has systematically stripped away all those little everyday human interactions. We don't have to ask a stranger for directions, or even talk to a cashier anymore.
And you can really see how much our values have shifted when you look at the origin of a word we use all the time. In ancient Greece, the word idiot had nothing to do with intelligence. It meant a private citizen, someone who refused to take part in public life, a person who is isolated. To them, being connected was normal. Being isolated was the weird thing. Today, we often call that same isolation self-reliance and act like it's a good thing.
Now, this feeling of being isolated, it's not just in our heads. It has a real, tangible, physical impact on us. Loneliness literally rewires our bodies and our brains for disaster.
Okay, so here's how it works. When we feel lonely, our brain sees that as a threat, like we're unsafe. This kicks our body into fight or flight mode, flooding our system with stress hormones. Our heart rate goes up, our blood pressure goes up. But when that becomes your constant state, it leads to chronic inflammation all over your body. It affects your organs, your blood vessels, everything. And that constant inflammation is what massively increases your risk for heart disease, strokes, and even cancer.
And get this, when someone says they hurt from being lonely, they're not being dramatic. Brain scans have actually shown that the emotional pain from rejection and isolation lights up the exact same parts of our brain as physical pain. Your brain literally does not know the difference between a broken heart and a broken arm. The pain is absolutely real.
Okay, so we've established the problem is serious. It's real and it's dangerous. But, and this is a big but, it is not hopeless, not at all. The good news is we can fight back. And we don't need some fancy medical degree to do it. So let's get into a practical toolkit for building connection, both for other people and for ourselves.
First up, let's talk about helping the people around you. It's so hard to know what to do when you see someone you care about struggling. But this simple framework, the 3 L's, gives you a really clear place to start.
So it all starts with look. Look for the signs. Has someone you know become really withdrawn? Are they not taking care of themselves like they used to? Next, listen. And I mean really listen. Don't jump in with solutions. Just let them talk. You'll learn what truly matters to them, not just what's the matter with them.
And finally, lend a hand. This doesn't mean you have to solve all their problems. It's about helping them take one small step to reconnect with something that used to love.
All right, but what if you're the one feeling isolated? Trying to make new friends as an adult can feel impossible, right? It's so daunting. But this framework, the CAR framework, it breaks it all down into small, manageable steps.
Okay, so C is for consistent place. You've got to find a third place, somewhere that isn't your home or your work. It could be a sports club, a book group, a volunteer gig. Just seeing the same faces over and over again builds familiarity and makes it so much easier to start a conversation. A is for approachability. This is huge. Put your phone away. Take your headphones out. Make eye contact. These tiny signals tell people you're open to connecting. And R is for reciprocity. Now this one's really clever. Instead of trying to offer help, try asking for a small favor. Something like, "Hey, can you watch my bag for a sec?" It's a low-stakes way to build trust.
So these individual actions are absolutely crucial, but they're still only part of the solution. If we really want to tackle this epidemic, we have to think bigger. We have to start building entire environments where connection isn't something you have to hunt for, but something that can just happen naturally.
There's a famous experiment from back in the 70s that perfectly shows the power of our environment. It's called the rat park experiment, and it is fascinating.
So here's how it went down. You take a rat, you stick it in a tiny empty cage all by itself, and you give it 2 water bottles. One has regular water, the other has drug-laced water. That rat will almost always choose the drug, over and over until it dies. But if you put rats in what they called a rat park, this big fun enclosure with other rats, toys to play with, good food, they almost always ignore the drug-laced water. Why? Because they have better things to do. They have connection.
And this leads us to this really profound conclusion, the opposite of addiction. And you can extend that to a lot of other self-destructive behaviors that come from despair. It isn't just stopping the bad habit. The true opposite is having a rich, connected life that makes that bad habit seem boring and irrelevant.
And this isn't just some theory about rats. We're actually starting to build these human rat parks. There's this movement called social prescribing, and it's gaining ground. Doctors, instead of just writing a prescription for pills, will connect patients to community resources, a gardening club, a local choir, a support group. It's a non-medical solution because it recognizes that the root cause of so much sickness is a lack of connection.
So this all brings us to one final, really fundamental question. We are biologically wired for connection. We can technically survive while we're isolated, but at what cost? We can keep building our own little cages out of convenience and so-called self-reliance, or we can take that scary, vulnerable step of trying to break out. The choice really is between just surviving or building a life that is truly deeply and joyfully lived. So what are you going to choose?